Morning, councillors. I declare the August meeting of Shire Council open. Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land within the Shire and acknowledges the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within the Shire. Councillors, I call for apologies and leave application for councillors from this meeting.
One received from Mayor Councillor Walker.
Someone happy to move that? Councillor Jackson, second Councillor Kinsey. With that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, with your indulgence, we might go straight to a presentation, and we're very pleased to welcome our local state member, Troy Butler, here. Also Roy Butler, Troy Leonard, and Gel Manchi. Always good to have you in Warren, Roy, and glad you could put aside some time today for us. Council meeting and then come and help us open a whole lot of projects that have been slowly progressing over a number of years. So, councillors have a few questions for you, but I wonder if you'd like to come and just bring us up to speed with what's happening at the state level, and then I know there's some questions that will follow from that. So, yeah, sure. Make yourself comfortable wherever you like.
I'm sick of it.
No, come up here and then we can move that around wherever you want to be. It's fine.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for the opportunity to come and have a chat to you. I don't really know where to start because there's just a lot happening in the state parliament. There's a lot of things that have changed. We've changed government as well. We've gone from a government that had a majority to a government that's got in minority. So they've got 2 seats that they don't have. The makeup of the crossbench is such that there's people that they can't rely on for supplying confidence, and that's groups like the Greens, because the Labor Party's concerned that the Greens are stealing all their votes, so they can't be seen to be siding with them. And then there's some people on the crossbench who are a little bit unpredictable in the media and that sort of thing. So they tend to look for people who are sort of a safe pair of hands, and that probably falls to people like myself, Joe McGurr, Phil Donato. And so that gives us a great deal of access to ministers, to the Premier, to be able to ask for things. We often get told that we have more access to ministers and the Premier than backbenchers in the Labor Party. We get better access because they need us. The political reality, I suppose, is that the Labor Party knows they can't win the seat of Parliament. If they can't win the seat of Parliament, they're very determined to make sure that Parliament feels extremely well looked after, because it's a seat they can't win and they want to keep it away from their opposition. So that puts me in a really lucky position in this 58th Parliament to be able to negotiate with the government. We had good relationships with everyone on all sides prior to the election, which made it easy when the Labor government came in. They weren't strangers. We'd already spoken to them plenty of times over the first term, over 57, and it made it very easy. We've got a couple of things coming through in terms of legislation at the moment. One of which I'm 99% sure the government's going to support as a private member's bill. That's around community consultation. What we found over the last 6 years, and you would, I think, understand where I'm coming from, is that a lot of the trouble that we have with state government projects is that the state government will say they've been out and they've consulted with the community, but there's no standards around what consultation means. So it could mean that they showed up at the pub and spoke to someone who was a tourist from Adelaide and said, no, we spoke to people in the community. I'm obviously exaggerating there, they wouldn't just do that, I hope. Yeah, so the bill that I put forward actually establishes minimum standards for consultation. So if an actor on behalf of government, whether it's a state-owned corporation, a government agency, or a consultant working on behalf of government, wants to say that they've consulted with the community, they have to be able to demonstrate they've done that. And what it doesn't allow, and you can understand why, it doesn't allow people to then take the matter to court, create an injunction, because otherwise we wouldn't get anything done in the state, because you're never going to make everyone happy with a project, and you'd have every project held up in court if it allowed for lawfare, if you want to use that word. So instead of that, what it does create is a mechanism that requires the minister, when someone says that consultation has not been done adequately, requires the minister to go and pull that apart, have a look at it, and establish whether or not it hasn't, obviously give direction after that. So that's one bill we've got going through. We've got another bill on calling for a moratorium on tender rounds for the renewable energy zones. So you guys are probably not as affected as Warren Shire with the renewable energy zones, but they're vast areas of solar panels, wind turbines, they're creating a fair bit of conflict in the community because you've got some landholders who are embracing the idea because you can make $50,000 or $60,000 a year per wind tower on your property, so you put 10 of those on your property and you probably don't even need to farm anymore. But the downside is neighbours who don't want the projects then may have to host transmission lines or may have the visual amenity ruined by having wind towers and all the infrastructure. So the payment for transmission lines is far lower than the payments for the projects. There's also a difference between the projects, being wind and solar, and the transmission lines in that the property owner has to agree to the project. So if I'm a landholder and they come to me and say, Roy, we want to put 100 megawatts of solar on your property, I have to agree to that. I have to let them in the gate. Whereas the transmission lines, they can actually force you to host those transmission lines. So that's creating a lot of problems. And what we've said is, well, we understand that state and federal governments, both sides, both the LNP and the Labor Party at state and federal levels have supported this. The state government's taken billions of dollars off the federal government to implement it. So you might remember famously, Mark Latham kept the upper house sitting till about 4 or 5 in the morning, moving amendments, none of which were successful, to try and make it fairer on landholders. I mean, some of his amendments, I think it'd be fair to say, were trying to blow it up, because that was what he was trying to do, but some of them were genuinely about making it fairer for landholders, but none of them were accepted. So when you've got both sides, both major parties wanting to do something, it's very hard for crossbench to influence where that's going to go. It was done in a bit of a hurried fashion. I think that's why we're now seeing some unintended consequences in terms of the lack of engagement with the community, the lack of satisfactory sort of behaviour on the part of the proponents. So the bill requires a moratorium on tenders. So the tenders have to go every 6 months for projects, and it will be a moratorium until there's been a parliamentary inquiry into the implementation of the renewable energy zones and the renewable energy roadmap. And so that's a bill that these are all live at the moment. They've all been second read. They're all ready for debate. And one of the things that obviously from the crossbench, in a very fortunate position, we're able to take these things forward. And sometimes we move bills not because we actually want to run the bill, but we'll move bills because we want the government to do something. And in the case of the third one, which is around local content, to encourage domestic manufacturing in regional New South Wales, that bill is about making sure that at the moment, so when you talk about solar, the content requirement is 90%. So you've got to have local aluminium, local componentry in your solar factory, or whatever you want to call it. The wind is only 10%. So at 10%, no one will make an investment decision to actually set up a factory and start building the things. And what we'll end up doing is Twiggy Forest or Andrew Forest will import them all through the port of Newcastle and will create traffic chaos over the Golden Highway forever. And I say that, I'll explain why in a minute. Forever, trying to bring these 70-metre sections over the Golden Highway and over the Great Divide. So the simple thing and the easy way to fix that would be to actually build these things on the western side of the Great Divide and have regional manufacturing, domestic manufacturing using Australian steel. Because obviously the steel that comes in from overseas, it might be from our ore, but it's processed in China. The steel plates are made in China, folded in China, and then come over on boat. So I don't want to lose that value add. I really want to have that value add here in New South Wales. And so what the bill does is it creates a requirement for 50% of local content with a ratchet mechanism. Because we acknowledge that when a company first sets up manufacturing, they're not going to be able to supply 100% of the wind tower sections that are required. If they can't do that, we need to import some, build some. The ratchet mechanisms allow that percentage to go up as the capacity of manufacturing goes up. So they're the 3 bills we've got running at the moment. That one is, as I said, it's not one we actually wanted to run, but the lack of movement, if you like, and that the ministerial portfolio has been sharps, the lack of movement from Penny on that means that our bill has just made its way to the top. So we've pulled it twice now, it's been on for debate at the request of, through negotiation with Penny's office on the basis that they say they're going to do something to fix the problem and create the local content requirement. It hasn't happened yet. So we're still having those debates and those discussions. But yeah, look, I'm just trying to think what else I can tell you about. There's obviously a lot happening around the electorate. We're still seeing a good level of state funding coming in. I said to the Treasurer and to the Premier all through the first year of the Parliament, I said, well, I can't go backwards. I can't go backwards because we've gone from, the 16-17 financial year, 132 million electorate specific funding, and then last financial year we got to about 950. This year we're on about 950 again, which is a huge upkick. That's a record level of funding for the electorate. I really want to continue that. I'd like to reach the billion actually, but that's something that I've said to them more politically. Like, aside from what I want for my electorate, I can't go backwards because all you're going to do is hand anyone else that wants to take a seat and say, oh, well, look, Roy's gone backwards. He's not getting as much money for the electorate as he was previously. So they've got that message, and we'll make sure that the funding flows through. And I know I've had Gary and Milton down in Sydney a couple of times, or a few times, and we've met with, the most recent was with the Treasurer to talk about the $695,000 problem that came out of the floods, and certainly I think Daniel Mookie gave him a very good hearing. He had a table, so the table was surrounded by senior SES people from Department of New South Wales. It was the right people at the table, and they identified that in 2016 the rules definitely changed, which is why if your council had done pre-2016 what it did in 2022, it would have been a problem. But it's a problem because essentially the criteria shifted, and I think for the worse really, because it's created a situation where some types of works will be claimable and other works aren't, and you've got a unique situation where if it's raining locally, obviously you fill up like a fishbowl. So that's something that needs to be accounted for. And what I've said to Gary and Milton is you will get some money. I don't know how much, I don't know when, but you will get some money. So obviously we'll shoot for the full 695, and hopefully we'll land somewhere near that. But the other, I suppose, this is in a backdrop of a state government that started with a fairly decent amount of debt and sort of had to try and tighten the belt a little bit coming into the first budget. And there's certainly some programs and things that have gone. I know that we talk about resources for regions and that sort of thing, and they're through the country mayors, you hear about that all the time. There are two funds that have been created, and you might have heard about these, and we're still literally, we've got a bill coming through the House at the moment to actually detail how the Regional Development Trust Fund will work and get the board appointed to actually start allocating funds. Although they've already pulled, as you saw, for Burke, Cobar and Broken Hill, $10 million for early childhood and then the employment programs as well. So the Regional Development Trust Fund was topped up with 50 million in the state budget, 400 million, and that's a fund that's very broad in how it can be applied. And as I said, it's a trust fund. It's not a one-off. So government will keep topping that fund up. So we'll keep seeing more money go in there. And then you've got the Working Regions Fund, which is $250 million, and we haven't even started to articulate how we're going to get that out the door. But the good thing is Tara Moriarty is the minister responsible for both those funds. We've got a great relationship with Tara's office and with the Chief of Staff, Brad Fitzmaurice. So they're very easy to deal with and very good to deal with. Some of those earlier funds, like Resources for Regions and Strong Country Communities, were funded out of the depleting funds. So things that were funded by the sale of assets. So basically, we sold big projects that were publicly owned, took the money, put it in a bucket, and started handing it out, and the bucket was getting very low. So we had to do something different because, without creating the trust fund, there would have been no money left in the bucket. So that's a good thing.
Well, last year, okay, trust fund, but we're getting to the end of the community-based infrastructure, I would say, for the want of a better term.
Yep.
The ones the piece is really missing for us will be fixing our swimming pool.
Yep.
We've allocated $400,000. We had this conversation last night, but this is for everyone's information. We went to tender, it was about 1.2 or so, Gary. So there's a shortfall there, no matter what we say, of 800 grand min. And that's happening right throughout Western New South Wales, and you're championing that cause. I guess the question is, what is the possibilities in that regional trust fund to getting, say, for us, 800 grand to allow us to rely on our swimming pool and thereby get maybe 10, 20 years more out of it, because you were alluding and telling us last night how expensive it is to replace a 50-metre pool. So
yeah, I'll come back to that.
Right.
So I'll start with, you saw what happened with Walgett Pool. So Walgett Pool had some issues, and basically the council resolved to actually close the pool to decommission it. When I became aware of that, I went straight to the Premier and said, we can't have a town like Walwood with the temperatures they've got to have a closed pool. He agreed, and he pulled, I think it was around 550 grand out of an arts fund, believe it or not. Full out of an arts fund, and that went across to get Walwood pool sorted. It's probably only the last couple of seasons. But getting to your point, the cost of a 50-metre pool in regional New South Wales is about $1 million. So it's a lot of money. And a lot of our pools were built post-war with volunteer labour, people with tumbling tommies and wheelbarrows and shovels and in there getting these pools made, and they're end of life. They're just getting towards the end of their life. Some can be relined and have a little stretch on their life, but others won't survive. And I gave some numbers to Gary Hilton last night. 57% of public pools are in regional New South Wales. And on top of that, Royal Life Saving did a study about 12 months ago, and they said the cost of actually getting everything back up to standard is about $8 billion. So a lot of money for all those pools. And the councils, and I mean, Warren's probably hasn't got it as bad as some other places. Like Warren Bundle's got a huge issue with duplication of assets, pool in Dunedoo, pool in Mildura, and pool in Canberra, and all of them getting a bit old. So that's an added complexity for a lot of regional councils with the duplication of assets. But yeah, look, I've spoken to Ron about this as Minister for Local Government, and obviously just to put it on his radar, it's going to be a problem moving forward for a lot of our councils. And politically, the government doesn't want to have summer in a regional community without a pool. So it shouldn't get to that level. It shouldn't get to the point that you've got to say we can't use the pool anymore. Yeah. And certainly the Regional Development Trust Fund would be an appropriate source of funds for the relining of that 800,000.
We'll be applying. As soon as you give us the go, we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, I've already put it on their radar.
Yeah,
it's an issue. But they're just working out the finer details of how to get the money out the door. And there's a lot of things like that. We've got, one of the things that I'm acutely aware of is the issue around youth crime and youth diversionary programs, or lack of youth diversionary programs. And $66 million in the budget for youth crime. We said we wanted about $5 when we did the budget bids. And when they put 66 in, we were cheering, because obviously I know government's focused on Moree, and that's because Boxart, or the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research, when they look at towns that are less than 3,000 people, they don't go into the detail on the crime. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One's probably a cultural sensitivity. The other is that a couple of offences can totally skew the data. But what I can tell you, because I have got that data from Boxart, but I'm not allowed to give it to anyone, I have got that data, and what it does say very clearly is that towns like Burke are actually per capita the worst youth crime in the state. So it goes into that level of detail in the report I've got, but when you look at the Boxart website, you can just see it's red, it doesn't give you the rest of the information. So youth programs, and I know that you guys have had a fair bit of activity with car theft, stolen cars, and other crime. So yeah, if there's programs that you have that need to be built up and supported, or programs that need to be started, it'd be a good time to start thinking about that as well, because I mean 66 million is a fair chunk. Yeah, we've got existing programs like Rotary Conveyment Corporation. We've got down the track at Lake Angelica, which is based on Backtracks, which is Bernie Shakespeare. He's a real character. And then we've got like groups like Marinuka at Burke who they've got a program, they want to run it, they need the resourcing for the staff. We've got the plan is to use all of how they've been buying all these national parks around the place, which I've talked about that. We've got these national parks that have shearers' quarters, camp kitchens, managers' residences on them that are currently just sitting there doing nothing. And they lend themselves really well to a youth program because they're far enough out of town that people aren't going to walk back to town. So yeah, that's the sort of thing we're trying to do. Just on those national parks, I'd be really wary, I suppose. I don't know if there's anyone around here that's sticking around. But the problem is that you lose your rates. Obviously, you don't get rates for a national park. Typically, they're not great neighbours in terms of fencing and pest management. Yeah, I mean, it also prices young farmers out of the market. People that want to buy and get into it, they can pay a lot more per acre than the average farmer can. So, yeah, I spoke to Matt Pete about this in the last time. I asked him a question on the floor and said, will you stop now? You've reached the target, which I think was 250,000 hectares or something like that. Will you stop? And he literally stood up and said, no, I'm not stopping. I'm going to find more places to buy the national parks. But they're not putting the visitor infrastructure in. You know, you need the campgrounds, you need, you know, the tables and chairs or huts or cabins or something that's going to bring people there. If you've just got a huge unimproved piece of land, pests are going to do real well. And then you're not going to get anything for your visitor economy, for your tourism. Like, no one's going to come there. So, yeah, there has to be something to change that. And Penny, I've been talking to Penny obviously about that. They're aware of it. They're just, I think, the scope of the problem is just so big for them with so many new national parks to acquire just in the last few years. And Penny only acquired another one about 6 weeks ago.
Councillor, we've got some questions about it. I think it's an opportunity to use a reasonable amount of time. Do any councillors have some questions for Roy?
Can I start? Yeah, thanks. Broadly, our problem with the levy funds will fix or eventually get some money. But broadly, there's an inquiry into the structure, the SES and RFS at the moment.
There's a lot going on.
And like the Public Service Union came out yesterday, sort of a lot of public criticism of the overall picture of funding, and obviously councils and our council are involved with it. You're aware of the Red Fleet financial accounting problem, or have you got any comment on where that's going to go?
Yeah, okay, there's a lot. That's a lot. You got another half hour. All right, so let's start with the Volunteer Emergency Services, SES, VRA, RFS. 12 months ago, thereabouts, I spoke to Jihad Dib, who's the Minister for Emergency Services, and I said, hey, mate, we've got some real thin markets out west where, you know, there's a certain number for each of those crews, a certain number you need to put on the truck to actually send them out. You can't just put one bloke in a truck and send them out for a job, you know. And we have, for a number of reasons, have trouble collecting the people. And I've said to Jihad, look, a couple of things. One is that we have trouble getting the training out here sometimes from time to time, whether it's SES or RFS or VRA, we have trouble getting the training out. So why can't we look at harmonising the training between the three volunteer agencies? So if you're going to do a rescue, if you've got a rescue functionality, then the rescue course could be run by one of those agencies, and people from all of them could go to the course, and that'll be accredited then for rescue, for example. The next part of it would be when there's a job on. If there's, you know, 2 SES blokes, an RFS and a VRA, and that's enough to form a crew, they jump in the most appropriate vehicle for the job, whether it's an SES appliance, RFS or VRA, and they go and do the job together. Because that way we can get to more people more quickly in an emergency, because we're not ringing around looking for the people who are available. We get whoever's available from each of those groups and chuck them in the vehicle and send them. And this is important in thin markets where we don't have the depth of volunteers. And I suppose the other factor is when you've got retained firefighters, and I'm not going to point any fingers at any towns, but what I would say is that sometimes retained firefighters get the call for the volunteer job, but know that if they don't form a crew, they'll get the call for the paid job. And so they let the call go through until they finally get the call from RFS as a retained firefighter and they go and do the work. And that, I'm not trashing anyone, I'm just saying that happens sometimes. So getting more people available to get to more people more quickly is really important, and Jihad has agreed to that. So he's appointed Brenton Charlton, who's the Commissioner of the VRA, to look at the collaboration between those services, that cross-agency work. So that's one thing. The next thing is on the reason Milton and Gary rang me one day, called me at a weak moment and said, can you come out? We've got to open some stuff and announce some stuff. And I said, oh, yeah, right, but I've got to be in Sydney Friday morning, 8:45 for the Select Committee on the Reconstruction Authority, because I'm a member of that committee. And that means, as I said to them, last Friday I was at my son's march out of Singleton, the School of Infantry, and so I couldn't be at that hearing. And that means I've got to read 9 hours worth of transcript between now and tomorrow morning.
Thank you. You're our local member. We expected you to jump out and come back. Thank you.
But yeah, so that's another vehicle through the Reconstruction Authority Select Committee where we can actually change the legislation, make recommendations to change the legislation around funding and that sort of thing. That's a couple of avenues, I suppose. We can, and I think that the collaboration of those agencies is a really good thing. Where you've got towns where you don't have a huge number of volunteers. That'll be one thing that'll make it a bit better. And then through the Reconstruction Authority, when you talk about funding, you talk about how agencies are resourced, that's a great platform to be able to do that. So if there's things that you want to put forward for any of those agencies, let me know, and I can make it part of the discussion with the committee.
Does that then include the depreciation of the red fleet?
Oh, okay. Sorry, you did mention red fleet. So Adam Marshall, I like Adam Marshall, he's a great guy, still in contact with him. He brought forward a bill to get rid of the red fleet off your books. So not just red fleet, the sheds, the vehicle, like SEH vehicles, all that stuff, get it off your books so it's no longer something that hits your depreciation. I've been talking to Ron about depreciation more broadly since the Parliament started, and so he commissioned an independent review of accounting for councils, which is, as I understand, still ongoing. He understands very acutely that depreciation, like if you guys told the truth about your road network in terms of depreciation, just like every other council, you'd probably show up as insolvent, in terms of the depreciation costs that you wear. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense the way that we treat depreciation for local government, especially in regional New South Wales. The Local Government Act is applied to you, is the same Local Government Act that is applied to Sydney City Council. Sydney City Council makes millions and millions of dollars a year just on parking, let alone the rental of facilities like the Domain, that sort of thing, for music festivals. So they're totally different. And Ron has been, I think he's been pretty good. I know Gary Milton will tell us that he's been out fairly frequently. He's come out and he's met with councils. He's been to Western Division and addressed them. So I think he's developed a really good understanding. If I say this, don't chase me out of the room. But when Ron first started talking to me about councils, he had a very low opinion of what he was expecting to find when he came to regional New South Wales. Based on his 31 years as the mayor of Mascot, he thought that there would be low levels of skill and understanding. He's been very impressed in meeting with regional councils, Parliament councils, which I suppose what's relevant to me. He's been very impressed that he sees it as a much more, and I say this in a very complimentary way because I know Ron sees it that way, old school council, where things are done properly. We don't sort of cook the books or send people overseas on junkets or anything like that. So yeah, Ron has he has an admiration, I suppose, for regional councils, and that admiration has also led to him understanding that this whole idea of depreciation just isn't something that's going to work. We have to do something about that. So I don't have an answer for you right now, but there is that independent review into local government accounting, which hopefully will come up with some solutions to depreciation, not just for you and not just for Red Fleet, but for the whole accounting system for local government.
No, we'll probably make this the last question in that we need to probably get moving.
Okay, thanks for being here, Roy, for that start.
Councillor Noel Kinsey, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Noel Kinsey. Roy, I just filling in that nomination form for being councillor. It's rather confusing thing to do, but it's probably not as bad as what's happened to the other side of the hill.
At least you got one in, right?
So for me, my name is Noel Richard Gordon Kinsey.
Yep.
So I filled it in as per the electoral roll.
Yep.
So that was fine, and the address is 9439 Mitchell Highway, Cathay. Quite frankly, nobody knows that. Never time, everybody knows.
Yep.
But the Noel Kinsey part, everybody knows who's that. So anyway, the electoral commission rang me up and said, do you really want all these names as you as a candidate? And I said, not really, because nobody knows me as that. And he said, would you be happy to just have Noel Kinsey? I said, that's fine.
Yep.
So we agreed to that. What I'm asking you, couldn't we just try and work out a way to simplify this job form?
I'd say I would love that. It's not the direction it's been going in that. None of that. Like I went to try and, I'm the treasurer for the Parliamentary Friends of Landcare. I was voted in, like in some kind of coup, I think. And I went to the bank with my passport, which is an official passport, so it says the bearer is a member of the Legislative Assembly, like pretty solid document. Had the minutes. Had to take the signed minutes because they wouldn't accept the minutes unless they were signed. I took them in there and I put my passport on the table, put the minutes on the table. First thing they said was, oh no, your passport says your name is Royal. This says Roy. I go, yeah, but I'm the only person with the first name is Royal and last name Butler in the Parliament. So we got over that. And then they said, well, you need one of the existing signatories to come into the bank with you to sign you up as the signatory to the account. And I said, well, the existing signatory, as far as I knew, was a bloke in the upper house who has taken himself off the signatory. And then we had signatories like Rick Collis, Katrina Hodgkinson and Mick Veach, all of whom have been out of the Parliament for a long time. So now I need to take another set of minutes signed saying that there's no one else left who can come and sign up as a signatory. And can you make it a signatory? So it's 3 trips to the bank. I don't have time to go 3 times to the bank. And frankly, it's $900 in the account. Like, it's a pretty elaborate fraud, eh? If I'm chasing $900, had to have clothes made and passports falsified and all sorts of things. But yeah, look, the administrative side of things is it's probably gotten worse, and I'd say it will get worse. I don't think it will get simpler, because when we come to identity security, identity theft, and I suppose governments are hypersensitive to that, so they're probably trying to make sure. And the intent, I think, is good, but the outcome on the ground is obviously, it's a bit painful, because you've got to fill out so many forms. And I'll tell you another funny thing, and probably don't leave the room with this one. My passport and, no, my driver's licence and the name that the bank has for me differ by 1 or 2 letters. Because obviously when I wrote an application out at some point, it's been that way for 20 years. But you can imagine the problem that it'll be one day when someone picks it up and I go, that's what I'm saying, don't let it leave the room. When I've got to go to the bank and say, no, it's really me. And I go, this is a different spelling. One day I'll have to deal with that. But yeah, it's hanging over my head, I guess. Not looking forward to that. But yeah, I agree it's gotten worse and it's painful. But I don't think it's going to turn around quickly. I mean, most things, and you'd see this, like you would see this in over your careers, over your time as councillors. A lot of things swing like a pendulum. We go too far one way and everyone revolts and says that's terrible, and then we swing back the other way. But we rarely find the middle and stay in the middle. It always sort of goes too much, too little, too much, too little, and keeps going like that. The challenge is, I suppose, to try and stop it in the sweet spot, but we don't seem to be very good at doing that. So I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for you, Mark.
Maybe we'll have to wait 5 years to get this sorted out.
Sorry?
Maybe we'll have to wait 5 years to get this sorted out.
Oh, the pendulum will swing back. It'll become...
Got kicked out, I'm going to get back in here.
Yeah. That's fine.
Thank you.
No worries.
Well, thanks for that. Big ticket items that for us probably continue to be barred off to 120%. Keep championing that vote. And on behalf of you, if you might, the sensible use of environmental water in terms of after a flood, let's not set it all strip down too quickly. Let's save a little bit. We get in contact with people at the bottom of the water hole and making that same point to them that water is not valuable in a flood, but it's very valuable in the dry time. But at some of that dry time, 300 GL out of 1200 is environmental water and barred off. So, but thanks for being here. So we're going to shoot off now to open all those buildings. With your indulgence, Council will adjourn the meeting and move to the airport, and then Shire Racecourse, UMR Waste Depot, all that. In quick succession.
We'll go to those packages of documents first.
At each side, that's what. Councillors will resume our ordinary meeting, Shire Council for August 2024. Thank you all the councillors who attended the openings of those 4 facilities, the airport, the upgrades out at the Warren Shire Racecourse Complex, UMR Waste Depot Transport Facility, and the 4 cross connections at 4 flat, all extremely worthwhile projects and projects that we should be particularly proud of, particularly in relation to the airport and the Shire Racecourse upgrades. Well done to all our staff and our committees who are involved in getting those projects up and running and completed. It's fantastic. Councillor White.
Just, Mr Mayor, if it's indulgence with council, I'd like to formally congratulate the staff and everyone that's the way the town looked today. It was a media event and something special, but everything was pretty flash.
Councillor Whiteley, thank you for that, and I think the General Manager and some of the staff, Management Community Services, might relay in development, of course, relay that thanks on behalf of councillors to the staff. Appreciate what an effort they've made. Thank you. Yeah. Council, we'll move on to item 4 on our agenda, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on Thursday, the 25th of July. Someone happy to move those minutes as a true and accurate record of that meeting. Councillor Jackson's happy to move. Second. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Jackson.
Well, just brings it as an accurate record and they were adopted.
Councillor, any comments, questions, further information sought before we put that? Nothing further, put that all those in favour? Yes, carried. Moving on to the disclosures of interest, item 5 on our agenda. Are there any matters of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest that have been disclosed by councillors? Joe Management got anything at all? No received? At the moment. Almost touch. Right, Councillor McCloskey, worst things have happened.
Yeah, like I'm going to throw it out the window.
Councillors, I'm going to say, this marks the last council meeting of this term of council, December 21 to September 24. I have to say I'm pretty proud and pleased with what we've achieved. I really thank those councillors who've gone above and beyond attending meetings, council meetings that is, attending committee meetings, and contributing to all those meetings and really stepping up for our community. I think everyone understands that being a councillor on Warren Shire Council, the obligation is to do the best for your community, and I believe everyone in this room has done their best for our community. Please accept my gratitude for what has been done. I do look around and think back over the last 2.5 years. The things that have been achieved are quite extraordinary in my mind. I think we went to the library opening a couple of months ago. We've seen the new lights over at Victoria Oval. We've seen solar panels on council buildings. Yeah, and there's a multitude of things that we've seen happen. But today the airport, the upgrades over at the Showground Racecourse, the railways facility, the ball flat, the cross connections and the firefighting ability. There's just so many projects that I think we should be really proud of bringing this community up to the standard we would like to see it, and that all our residents would like to see it. So, job well done. But as well as the projects, I'm pretty proud of the way this community operates. I'm thinking particularly of the flooding events of 21-22, when we as a council, as staff, as individuals, were able to have all those tractors in place for pumps, the work that was done in having the meetings, Gary, with at least every second day, if not every day, in terms of just managing our water situation. And when you talk to the then Minister, Steph Cook, about flooding in Macquarie, she said, I didn't hear anything about that. And that's in some ways the way we want it. We just look after our own patch and do it properly, do it well, and that's the way it should be. The degree of collaboration in a difficult time was something that I'm very proud of. That flooding events led to our roads being a bit of a mess, but we slowly claw our way back thanks to Sylvester and his team. We're trying to get slowly on top of that, but that's just going to be an ongoing project. We're slowly working our way through it. Some big projects happening. The Miller War on State Highway 11, some work being done there that we're going well with. Work on the Martha Guy Road, a couple of kilometres near me, that was flood restoration work, which looks bloody fantastic. A lot of work on the Nevertire Bogan Road, interrupted by wet weather now, of course, and so all those things are still in front of us. A lot of gravel resheeting on the Old Warren Road, extending the sealed section there. Going further back, extending the Yellowgerard Road to our Shire boundary. I think that's been another wonderful thing. So, shortcomings on our roads, yes, in terms of the unsealed road network, which is about half of our roads, but nonetheless, I think we're doing, in the circumstances that we presented with, doing the best we can. And I think if Sylvester, you might convey to our staff in the Rose area how pleased I am that they're really trying to do their best in difficult circumstances. Every time we talk about the Nevertide Logan Road, Sylvester says to me, we're starting on Monday, and it'll rain on Saturday and Sunday, and so it just gets pushed back. So it's pretty difficult. But I think we've taken initiative. We've kept that 5th grader. Workforce is an issue, and workforce is an issue everywhere. If we had another couple of grader operators, we'd be in a lot better position when it does go. But we'll get there, and we'll just continue to plug away. This council will see the 3 councillors not seeking re-election, and I want to make mention particularly of those three councillors. Firstly, Councillor Walker, who's not here with us today, but she's made a significant contribution in the health space and the interagency space, and just looking after people. Like, that's her, in my mind, that's her forte. She really cares about people and wants to see people really look after them. The last thing she talked about the last meeting was that transport between Warren and Nevertide, so that people had accessibility to public transport in a broader sense. So I pay tribute to Councillor Walker for the diligent way in which she's performed her tasks. You and my waste depot was important to her as well, and I think she's done an excellent job in looking after our community in space which really appeals to her and it resonates with her. Councillor Bruce, I take my hat off to you, particularly as the chair of the Showground Racecourse Committee. You inherited a committee from Councillor Beach, who's done, in my view, a pretty good job and got things on the right track. But to manage 9 different horse-loving groups and the show society as well, and get the outcomes that you've got out of the Showground Racecourse, so well done. Very good. And we look at that Showground Racecourse, you drive in there today, and that equestrian arena is absolutely, it takes over the landscape, and to see that there in Warren is really pleasing. But to get all the other things that have happened there, that every other group's had some benefit out of, the cattle yards, the toilet facilities now, bringing two together, all the upgrades that occurred in the other areas of the facilities, camp draft, rodeo, all those things that happened, the canteen areas, and then of course the showground, the show pavilion, which was showground funded, but of course another important part of our community, and we just see that pavilion long way in front of where we had been, and then you see the quality of the produce and the displays that go in there, and the art particularly, it catches my mind. Without the upgrade and showing faith in those sort of organisations to have and giving them good facilities to work with, I don't know that we get to the same level of community involvement that we do. So thank you so much for your advocacy in that area. And the other area, of course, is with the WAC, the Warren Health Advisory Committee. Without your input and without your forthright telling of how it is, I don't know that we'd be going places we are. And we've got a submission to put in shortly that you're working with Gary. And health is a pretty important part of, not necessarily our prime cause, but we need to look after our community. And thank you so much for really driving that through. And we're pleased that we went to a crisis mode when RAMS were vacating the Warren Family Medical Centre, and we stepped through a lot of hoops to eventually get with the Royal Flying Doctor Service, and we're grateful for their management. But without the advocacy of people like you, Heather, might not happen. And last one, Councillor Taylor. Since 1999, Councillor Taylor, correct? 25 years as councillor. Your service is exemplary. And chairman of so many committees, well, airport committee today, but town improvement, particularly driving that. You've been on economic development committee, traffic. I think sporting facilities, we've seen that go from strength to strength. And without your sense and good common sense, that is, in just getting the outcomes that we need. Asking the right questions. I believe Councillor Taylor's a forte of yours. Just, yeah, what should we do next? Is that the right thing to do? Why hasn't that quite happened? Let's just, and the way in which you do it, just that quiet sort of questioning way, let's get the best outcome we can for our community is something that I'm so proud that the council acts like that and just doesn't make a song and dance, just says, let's work this out for the best outcome that we can possibly get. And you're particularly thrown into the line, like Kevin, with the business in which you run. You know, everyone in mind goes through past your business, go through your front door. And the way in which you deal with people, residents, ratepayers, and just put them on the right direction in terms of when they raise problems with you. That phone call, invariably to the general manager and the odd occasion to me is very much appreciated, because that means that as a council we're listening, and Kevin's I call the public-facing councillor of our council, and we just see that those problems don't ever escalate. You know, they're dealt with straight away. Kevin, if you can't give an answer, get someone who can give an answer and gets a phone call back. And I think that is a great trait to have. And the fact that you were able to do that speaks volumes about the fellow you are. You're not a councillor who hides behind anything. We just deal with it straight away. And it means that everyone benefits because of the work. Every councillor benefits because of the work you do. We're not getting people at times coming to us with complaints. Councillor Taylor didn't do anything. I mentioned it to him. I mentioned it to whoever. It's nipped in the bud. We get the result that we're really after. The other people I'd like to, of course, thank our staff, led by our General Manager, Gary Goodman. Gary and I have had a pretty good working relationship, and I'd say very good working relationship. A work ethic second to none, in my view. King of paper. I've got everything in triplicate, and I'm going to have a bonfire of some of this stuff in time. But attention to detail and making sure that I'm aware of absolutely everything, and the Deputy Mayor and I on Wednesdays are informed of everything. You guys would see it in our information session, pre-council meeting. You see it in the detail in our business paper. In my view, Gary's fault lies on the verge of too much detail, but that's okay. He chooses to share us. Yes, trying to. Where's the dot points, Gary? Where are the dot points? But without Gary at the helm, I think we will be a much lesser organisation. And I thank him for his efforts, his friendship. I think we're in a good space, and I think it leaves this council, leaves the next council in a very good space as we move forward. I'd like to also say thanks very much to Sylvester. I think it's my view with Sylvester is such a capable fellow, just quietly gets things done. Our roads are going to benefit from him being around, particularly I think Sylvester's 4 days in the planning and the grant obtaining space, absolutely fantastic, and we've seen that result earlier today. And Brad, of course, in the finance administration space, thank you, Brad, coming on board. I think you've had a hard act to follow in terms of the fellow we called generously DA, and wasn't dinner ale in the old days, Kevin Taylor, with Darren Arthur. And look, I think over time you're going to be growing to another DA, and if you get to that point, we're very excited, because he was the exemplary manager of finance and administration in my view, and great champion. Mary Ann in the urban space, thank you. My Stepo's come a long way. Swimming pool, the work we've done in the sporting facility space, I think we've kicked a few goals there, and appreciate everything that you've done. And my final thanks to a staff member who I have the utmost time for, Jodie Burtonshaw. Jodie, thank you as Executive Assistant to the Mayor and the General Manager. I know he monopolises your time. I know I try not to take too much of it, but you are the backbone of the organisation, Jodie, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work that you do for me, for Gary, for this whole council. It's absolutely appreciated and will not ever be forgotten. Councillors, thank you for your support of me as Mayor. Very much appreciated. I'm so excited that so many of you have chosen to stand again, and 9 councillors elect already. I think we as this council leave the next council with a good foundation, with places still to go, but I think we've done our little bit to see that this place is the sort of place that we all want to live in, and that our community appreciate, and that we look forward to allowing one to progress in the little things. It's all incremental change. You know, things happen, little things happen. If we can continue to make it better and better, and the next council continues to make it better and better, we've done our job, and the community will be well pleased with what's been achieved. And I think you, as a group of councillors, should be extremely proud of what's been achieved in this term of council. Thank you. Councillors, on that note, I just move that the information be received and noted. I have some notes that I will give to Jodie in a legible form, and she can incorporate those as part of the minutes. So. The one thing I would neglect to say is thank you for supporting my.
I'm not here.
Right. Thank you, Jane, for your support over these 20 years on council. Yeah, very good. We move that. Unless you don't, thank you. Don't need a second. Can you put it? What do you put it? Thank you. Item 7, the reports of committees. The first of those meeting the Sporting Facilities Committee on Wednesday, the 7th. Councillor Taylor, you have to move. Thank you. Second. Councillor Kinsey. Councillor Taylor.
For Mr Mayor, there was only one recommendation there that we not proceed with the purchase of 2 treadmills that one of the users asked for the main reason being the increased risk of those particular, or that particular item. Not so much to perhaps the professional users of it, but because the place is unsupervised most times, if Wes is not there, say it's junior soccer or junior league or whatever, and kids can actually get up in there. If they can get up there and turn it on, it's not supervised, it's still out the back, and of course it'll be. So it's fine in a supervised gym, but not in an unsupervised situation. So the other side of that too was an extra $500, I think off the top of my head, a month for both those things, which then the users would have to have increased membership. The main reason was the risk, increased risk. Just on a positive note, it's not in there, but I mentioned solar earlier. Solar panels are being put on there. The budget on previous use was for this 12 months ended 30th of June was for around 17 grand. And the actual was 7 grand. So a saving of 10 grand just for that one complex. So I think that's a pretty good achievement. There's a lot for solar panels on this.
Absolutely, yeah, no, and I think the other point, Councillor Taylor, when you're on costs and net costs to council, I think net cost to council of running the Sporting Facilities Committee, Sporting Facilities Victoria component, was about 70 grand, which has come down from about 140 that it used to be. So that part of our provision of services to the community has become relatively cost effective compared to, say, the Shire Racecourse Committee, which is up to 280s or something or other net cost. So well done to Wes as the manager over there and to the Sporting Facilities Committee for really running that facility as leanly as is possible, but still getting the sort of results that we'd like to see out of that facility. Councillor Bartlett, anything? No. Councillor, any further questions, comments before we put item 1? Being the case, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2 of the report to the committees, that being the report of the traffic committee held on Thursday, 8th of August. Councillor Carter, you're happy to move again, thank you. Second. Councillor Bruce, Councillor Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, there's 3 items there. First, the St Mary's bus zone was proposed to be moved around Burton Street, which is, once it was investigated by Traffic New South Wales, was just not to go. Main reason too, the bus zone post had apparently been knocked down and put completely in the wrong spot, which was up further towards the church. It's since been moved back. There are some recommendations to the school and to us to try and minimise traffic sort of things, like double lanes going along the roads to stop cross traffic coming around. Parents picking their kids up from the room, having to go inside the gate to pick them up, all to do with safety. There's also some things in Burton Street, the buses in the morning. I think we have to do a U-turn somewhere around over the bridge. So it was all agreed by the principal and Traffic New South Wales that these measures take. The other one was the Hale Street crossing. Again, where the proposed crossing was going to be, and in agreement with the principal of Central School, they wouldn't have used it. There's some mitigation stuff going to be taken. Bus zone compacted, I think, and some more parking for the kids that actually drive their car there further down Hale Street. And yeah, so that's not going ahead either. And of course, we got the Christmas street changes, blockages, whatever you like to call them, done at that meeting as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Councillor, any further questions, information sought, comments before we go? Nothing further, we'll put that. The meeting of the Traffic Committee. Information received, noted. Councillor Jackson's, sorry, to be removed. All those in favour? Meeting of the Local Emergency Management Committee held on Tuesday, the 13th of August. Someone to move those minutes. Councillor White, you to move. Councillor Derrick, second. Councillor White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I move the report and ask the General Manager if he's got any comments on the report of the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this was a straightforward meeting. The only outcome of it was that the water flood plan, the new water flood plan, since it's not been signed by council, the New South Wales SCS will activate the state flood plan if a flooding occurs.
And do you need to elaborate why it wasn't signed? Because Mr. Mayor, since 2013 and 2002, there have been documentation within the flood plans detailing that council does numerous items on behalf of the State Emergency Service, and they don't want to put that back in. So I can remember the 1990s plans saying the same thing, the 2002, the 2013. And we're at the moment not prepared to sign it on behalf of the council until something like that's in there, because the whole of the onus of doing things around Warren is not just Warren Shire Council, but other organisations. And until there's a bit more movement, and we're still waiting on final advice for a future report to the council.
Yeah, I think you just needed to understand, Councillor, why we're being reluctant to move on this one. Councillor White.
As moved with the motion, I accept and appreciate that. I think the local input and local control in these events is paramount.
We proved it in the last 5 floods. So it's done by the people who know, the locals, using local knowledge.
we had a pretty good result.
So, Mr Mayor, did I read into what Director said that the SES was going to revert to a state plan because we haven't got?
I'll try to explain. The local flood plan probably should have been renewed in 2018, 5 years after the 2013, because the 2012 to the 13 plan. It hasn't been renewed, and they're part of the process of renewing. They wanted to remove at least one clause that actually put the onus on not just Warren Shire Council, but other organisations paying for our costs. That same clause has been in every flood plan since the 1990, I would suggest. And we're not prepared to accept that for obvious reasons. We've got a problem right at the moment with some money that's owed to us. So we're waiting on final advice officially, but that was what was advised of the LEMC, that they're going to, since we don't have a flood plan that's been renewed, they're going to revert to the state plan. In time, we'll find out if they've done exactly the same thing for every other one that hasn't been renewed and is due for renewal, because if it hasn't, why has Warren Shire's flood plan been chosen as the one that's the only one that reverts to the state plan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
If you just wait and see what the outcome of that is over time. But unfortunately, so what you said, Councillor White, it works best when the locals have got some significant input, but we can't fund that. So, Councillor White, any further reports on that? Any other report? Any further information sought by councillors? The local emergency management team. Nothing further with that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Move on to the next meeting held on Tuesday the 13th of August. I'm happy to move information newly received and noted and received and noted. Thank you, Councillor Bosky. Councillor Jackson. Councillor Bosky.
No, just move the recommendation. Me?
General Manager has some information he'd like to speak of in regard to Banks Committee meeting.
I'm very pleased that the timing for the opening projects today was within reason, but a reasonable time, which is good. Thank you very much for helping us rush around everywhere. Everyone's aware that we've got a new communication and marketing firm, and we're trying our hardest to provide as much information to them on all the things that we're doing and going to do, and it's just a slight change in format of how things are considered for the council newsletter. We see that on page 4 and 5. The new one is hopefully, apart from, say, 4.2.2, which is grants register, where everyone, the onus is being directed at everyone is actually trying to get their grant money in, milestones reported on, etc., trying to get as much money in as possible as we spend it. To help the Divisional Manager of Finance Administration, and many larger places do this to the next level because they have management accountants and all sorts. We don't have that luxury. Is making sure that the Divisional Manager of Finance Administration knows when people think money's coming in and when big cash is going out. So he can try to manage his investment portfolio to the smidgen to try to get as much investment income as possible. And hence on page 67, a new system, just where everyone tries their hardest to tell us, and we're talking management, executive staff, when they think money should be coming in and when they think big money should be going out. Like when eventually, for example, the visual management human services buys a new motor grader, you should be able to tell Brad when it's turning up and, when that cash needs to be available to be able to pay for it. I will defer. If everyone has a look at page 8 and 9, the certain page 8, there's big money owed on the flood damage, and correct me please, Sylvester, I believe a fair amount of the applications have gone in. We've got some movement of funds because of timing. You haven't quite put in a $3.41 million claim, is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we've put in most of the claims, apart from ADRN 1025, which we're working on at the moment. For AGRN 1034 IRW, we put in a partial claim because some of the work in that AGRN was done after the deadline. So we're going to put in the rest of the claim under AGRN 1034 EPA for that. Yeah.
There's a lot of cash owed to us, absolutely, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing your business paper of Mannix show is good. Sometimes can be better reading than the minutes because you just can't. The minutes will be the same, almost the same size as the business paper if you put everything in. But everything is important to get cash flow in. So because our investment income is needed to help pay for the slightly extra operational costs of all our new and refurbished assets. At the moment, we're running line ball and not having to reduce services elsewhere because of that investment income. Pretty important. The Manager Health and Development Service has been notified that her $82,386 out of her garbage costs for the flood damage is just about to be paid. We've still got another claim of 38 to get approved, and hopefully we've got another $220,000 of road reconstruction work to happen out there that should get approved, we hope, soon. We still would like to fill lots of road positions, and we aren't the only ones, but we think we're more important. We need people to do all this damage and all these road works that are coming our way. I think the new librarian has hit the ground running. He's doing lots of lively stuff. She's even a bigger social media user than Kelly, and so the library's getting lots of work done. And that's where it was.
Thank you, Manager. Councillor, further questions, comments regarding the minutes of the management? Councillor Wilson.
Mayor, just a comment that it was noted in the Mannix of Negataro O'Donnell is on the 28th of September. So, thank you.
And you do need to check with the organisers if they have actually kind of sent information to us to get on our website. They normally have.
Through there, I have contacted one of the treasurer and she was going to put something.
All right.
Councillor, any further comments, questions, information sought regarding the minutes of the Mannix meeting? Nothing further, put that, all those in favour? Against, carried. Moving to the minutes of the Economic Development Promotions Committee recommendation there, and Councillor Derrick, you're happy to move the recommendation? Thank you. Second. Councillor White and Councillor Derrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's always a lot of work going on in this space. And I guess further to the recommendation, I would just like to highlight the Discover Warren Tourism Guide, which is very close to being ready for print. And following that, also the Discover Warren New South Wales website and social media. So standalone tourism website and social media, which is going to be very useful. And I'm well aware that we are one of the few councils that doesn't already have standalone tourism website and social media. So yeah, I think it's very exciting and can't wait to see that. Thank you.
Councillor, you might want to just inform councillors the quality of the photographs in the visitor information. What's the proper name of that?
Yes, so the Discover Warren Tourism Guide, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
Just
Well, I don't want to ruin a surprise too much, but yes, the quality of the photography is astounding from various sources. It's just beautifully put together book, and something that I guess the idea is that it's not going to date, so there's not a lot of business listings specifically. Certainly all the information that is needed, but yeah, absolutely professionally done, and yeah, just amazing photographs. So yes, stay tuned. It'll be out soon, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
great to think versions to yourself and have a good look at it and show your business, because it is absolutely, when it is done, we saw the draft at the meeting, and it's absolutely extraordinary. You know, it's good to remind me that photographs of Dharma, when you go on, Dharma looks good in photos, when you go and see it, it's so much better, and this was just absolutely extraordinary. So, yeah, can't speak highly enough of the way that's been developed by technology and visitation manager. Councillor, any further comments, questions regarding the minutes and the recommendation coming out of the Economic Development Committee? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to the reports of delegates, the meeting of the Alliance Western Councils, the meeting held on the 12th of July. I'm happy to move the minutes of that meeting. Councillor Taylor, happy to second, thank you. Councillors, this was a shorter Zoom whatever platform meeting. Doing most particularly with the overhang of the old Arana JO and the newly, or more newly formed Alliance of Western Councils. The Arana JO was written to the Minister for Local Government and the Auditor, advising them that there are no longer any members of the Arana JO, each council having resigned, but indicating that there'll be no resources to undertake an audit. A letter came back saying that, well, the JO hasn't been dissolved by the Minister as of yet. There may still be an audit function to be undertaken. The JO has about $80,000 in its bank account, which are none of which is state government funded. It's all contributions by member councils. The previous members of the JO have voted that we disperse those funds to the Alliance of Western Councils for their use in employing an executive officer. Job description to be completely determined, but we have a trial happening now with ladies named Lisa Shipp for the next 6 months in working for the Alliance of Western Councils in an executive officer role. That motion was put and carried unanimously, and on the other side, the Alliance of Western Councils have graciously accepted that money to progress the executive officer role with the Alliance of Western Councils, which we believe is a valuable organisation and will continue to be a valuable organisation. So that's more just to inform councillors of what was occurring at that relatively quicker meeting. It was about the extent, was it? Yeah.
Can't do an audit, but no money was.
So what's the procedure with how long is it going to take to try and disband the jail? How's that all going to
In
work?
informal conversations, talking with Bob Stewart, who's the administrator at Central Darwin, Shire, he was of the view that the minister is trying to sort some legislation that will enable the dissolution of at least our jail plus another one southwest somewhere. And so he's grappling with how that might occur. But we've taken the view that we are no longer members, we've all resigned. Let's use the money for a worthwhile purpose, which is the Alliance Western Council, which is proven to be a very worthwhile organisation. But the legislative requirements are still unfolding. The Minister understands we are certainly non-functional and been made fully aware of that. And in some ways heartening to hear that another JO's heading in the same direction. I think they're all, quite frankly, I think they're all struggling. You know, when you get that top-heavy auditing requirement and payment of an executive officer at the level of a general manager, yeah, it's hard to make it work. And a voluntary organisation like ours, I think, that lives within its means and gets some really great results, I believe, is much more worthwhile. Yeah.
So the minister would be happy to leave that JO there as a shell with no responsibilities.
I don't know what he's thinking, Councillor Rockley. It's my view from talking with the administrator at Central Darling that it would be just dissolved. But it may be that it's just a shell with no capacity to do anything as well. But it just depends on how the Office of Local Government can see to unwind this particular.
There could be no comeback to the former members of the JO for reporting or accounting or anything.
Can't be certain of that, I don't think, but common sense
it was fairly expensive legal advice obtained by the Mid-Western Regional Council. But you can read it both ways. But there was enough so the onus is really on the organisation and the acting executive officer who was the general manager at Mid-Western Regional Council. And the money is at Mid-Western Regional Council. So he was the one who had to say to the audit office, why are you auditing us? We actually haven't spent any money and we're not doing anything. You're wasting $6,000 of money. So that started to go wrong. Sadly, the onus a little bit on that poor officer. But the legal advice was helpful enough to reiterate some of his fears and other council's fears in that way. I mean, we know that it's. I did this to Councillor Bruce, meaning how long is a piece of string, when how long is the minister going to take. But he knows there's at least two. And some of the big ones want to get rid of it too. Thank you.
Councillor, any further questions, information regarding the Alliance of Western Council meeting minutes? Any further? Put that all those in favour? It's carried. Moving on to item 2 of the reports dealt with, that being the Auburn Negative Country Mayor's Association held on the 9th of August. I'm happy to move those. Most of you know, Councillor Bruce, maybe a second. Councillors, as you'll be aware, that meeting was themed on health. Bonnie Taylor, who was a good friend to Warren Shire Council, I believe, in her position as the former Regional Health Minister, spoke. Disappointingly, Brian Park, the Minister of Health, didn't address that meeting, said his Parliamentary Secretary. Health was a difficult space, which I imagine I had to. We were attending for the first couple of hours, then left to go and meet with the Treasurer regarding our $695,000 dilemma. regarding levy bank. But I think the best thing we did was come back a little bit later and have a private conversation with Richard Colbrand from the Little Doctors Network. And he sees the whole health space from a little bit different angle than bureaucrats do, but as indicated, he will happily assist us in any way we want. In health space, we're doing that submission that Councillor Bruce and the General Manager working on during a couple of weeks. So we'll continue to work in the health space, but it's hard yards. Councillor Bruce has expressed some disappointment that the way the local health council is not really having input into the Western Local Health District. It's a difficult space. We shall continue to work in that space to try and get the best outcome as possibly can. Do you want to add on to that? No.
Comment earlier.
Yeah. Councillor, any further comments, questions, information sought regarding the country mayor's? Just the note about the present chair, Jamie Chappie, standing down following his pre-selection as the National Party candidate for the Federal Seat of Parks, and Rick Furman from the Canora, Deputy Chair of that organisation, stepping up in the interim into that role. Again, reinforce that country mayors is a pretty powerful voice, and so I would be thinking that this council in this new term to consider staying as part of that organisation. Councillor, any further on the country mayors held on the report? Any further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the reports of council regarding policy, item 9 on our agenda. The staff education and training policy, that being item 1 in policy areas. I'm happy to move that. Councillor Kenty, you happy to move recommendation and the adoption of that staff training plan? Councillor Taylor's happy to second. Councillor Kenty.
Just move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor. Sounds like a reasonable thing to be doing.
Thank you. Any further information regarding the staff education and training policy? Nothing further. We'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2 of the policy area of employee assistance program and policy. Again, someone happy to move the recommendation there. Councillor White is happy to move. Second. Councillor McCloskey. Councillor White.
Happy to move the recommendation and invite relevant staff to comment if needed.
Anything you wish to say about that one?
Yeah, the only real change, Mr. Mayor, is to casual employees. Casual, it's every employee. And of course, just a reminder that it includes councillors too. If you need some assistance, but I felt that there was should be no real difference whether you're a casual employee of ours or a permanent full-time or permanent part-time. I think because we don't have too many, it won't be a financial burden. And just make sure it was available to everyone. And just final things, trying to get similar review information on most of our policies. About it.
Thank you. Any further on the employee assistance program? Nothing further on that policy. Put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We're going to further our policy considerations, the staff relocation assistance policy. We need someone to recommendation. Councillor Derrick. Second, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Derrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to approve the recommendation. Always good to address ambiguity.
Yes.
Thank you.
Again, just to tie up early to address that.
We try to share the duties because the divisional manager of engineering services is probably most of the staff who get that relocation, and that is one of the ambiguities we discovered we just want to tidy up.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor, any further comments and questions regarding the staff relocation assistance policy? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the report to the General Manager. The first of those being the outstanding reports checklist. Item 1 of the General Manager's report. Someone happy to, with those items that are asterisks, be removed from the action checklist? Councillor Bruce, Councillor Whiteley, Councillor Bruce.
Yes, happy to move it. Thank you. And yeah, a lot of asterisks need moving forward, so good to see.
Well, Councillor, we will be having a look at a couple of those in the Carnarvon amenities building this afternoon, the one more swimming pool facilities, but gentlemen, do you want to go through them?
Oh,
anything you want to
yeah, so Warren Airport, where I think 99% of the works are complete. Some areas where it was just rained on a couple of times, just to final tidy up. But infrastructure project manager told me that the drain was supposed to be finished, but we couldn't drive to go and have a look at it. All our cars would have been involved there.
It was finished, no water on 0321.
Little bit. Yeah, look, understand, if has anyone got any photographs of the flood damage on 0321, the water over it, please text it to me, because the press were interested in getting those photos.
Lovely, Mr Mayor. I have one which I checked that embarrassingly it's got 3 council vehicles bogged on the other side.
And the problem is it's expected to be 24/7, even in port divisions, and those sort of things happen.
Councillor, you might forward that nonetheless to the General Manager and leave it to his discretion to word appropriately what was occurring and going above and beyond. So,
Doctor the photo.
Photoshop it, Councillor Boston.
We've pretty well made arrangements for people to attend the local government Survival Annual Conference in Tamworth, but we at the moment only kind of know one name. So on about the 10th of October we'll know a few names. That's on page 8.
The other one, just on that one, just a reminder to you, there's only a limited time frame on which to put motions. Is there not?
Yes, yeah. We've got a couple, each week we try to brainstorm and see if there's any others. Ours so far relate very much to flood costs, like the levy, something like that, and the other one was having much better timing for going and doing the restoration works instead of being 3 years after the 2 years and 9 months, or 2 years, and then you might get a 9-month extension after the year that the flood damage happened, and that's not sufficient time anyway. It would actually mean, Mr Mayor, that Lismore area needs to stop doing any restoration work now for stop. And they wouldn't have done a 10th of it yet.
Yeah, so the issue, Councillor, I think you guys did it. What happens is the clock starts ticking as soon as you flood declare. We, of course, had no idea of what road damage has been done while it was still under water 12 months plus later. And so you've lost 12 months before you even start. Then it takes forever for the assessment to be done because so many people in the same council in the same boat. Then we get notification of what dollars you actually have available, and that time frame is then very diminished in terms of being able to do the work. So there's a real failing in the timing of these things, and that's the point that the general manager's making there. We just need to, hopefully we will have a motion that goes to the local government sort of conference along the lines of being sensible with timing of work that needs to be done following Friday.
So on page 13, you saw the playground equipment's all done and dusted at Shire Racecourse. The storekeeper's got his replacement vehicle that was lost. You've done everything, the regional manager of engineering services done everything he needs to do in relation to the road layout and of the design of Canterbury Stage 3 and third supplier documentation's been signed by the mayor and the general manager in relation to that request for preferred supply status for our trades and commercial services.
Yep. Councillor White, the other question, I think.
Just sorry to go back, Mr. Mayor, with your indulgence, is with the fact of the conference, the local government conference, and to me perceived the obvious divide between those city councils and your rural mayors. Is the rural mayors organisation have facilitated it to get some of the motions to New South Wales across the line?
I think they're two separate organisations, Councillor Whiteley. I think first thing is to get it to local government New South Wales, but the second thing is, yes, bring it to the attention of country mayors, which country mayors are aware of it, but they'll both be championing the same thing, I would hope. I can't see any reason for a motion along the lines of proposing it wouldn't be supported, but I think we'll probably have a degree of impetus coming out of country mayors that it might not necessarily have out of local government in New South Wales. But if it's in both spaces, nothing was, and the other one will be through the Alliance of Western Councils as well, because we're all effectively along the same way. So when the motion's been drafted, I think it would be the intention that we send that same motion to the three organisations.
Yes.
Anything further out of pertaining to item 1 of the General Manager's report, the outstanding reports checklist? Nothing further, put that all those in favour, against carried. As is traditional for item 2 of the report of the General Manager is standing, and I'll find the appropriate piece of paper. In recognition of Warren being a healthy town and to give awareness of a healthy lifestyle, Council is standing while dealing with item 2 of the General Manager's report pertaining to committees and delegates meetings. Council looking for a movement as seconder regarding the committee and delegates reports. Councillor McCloskey is happy to move. Second. Councillor Taylor. Councillor McCloskey.
Just move the report, Mr. Mayor, please.
Councillor Drenny. Councillor Derrick.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to explain that we didn't actually hold the interagency meeting. There was only 3 attendees. 2 of those were joining us online from Transport for New South Wales. So we did have a good discussion around our main action from the interagency, which is the Never Tire to Warren bus service. And a survey has been started. I believe there was some Transport for New South Wales team members out this week. I think 4 people earlier in the week surveying in person at various locations. That survey will be online as well, but I haven't received the link for that. So yes, that process has started to ascertain the need and what that service might look like. To do something that we go ahead with. Thank you.
Something in the newspaper regarding that same matter, but
yes.
I think the question with that one will be, getting it widely enough circulated to get some responses. The question then is how is that being disseminated? Is there every interagency group able to
Yes,
create
thank you,
something?
Mr. Mayor. It will be there will be a link to an online survey, but we haven't received that as an interagency group yet.
Sure.
But yes, that certainly covered a lot of bases on foot and in person. And I guess it's not necessarily about the number of survey responses, but I guess the genuine data that's needed as to people who would actually use the service, not to ask if people think it's a good idea, because most people would say yes, but are people actually going to use it? Because there have been examples where similar services have been set up based on the community being noisy about the need, but when the service was made available, nobody was using it. So I guess, yeah, trying to get some genuine responses as opposed to a lot. And I do believe they stopped in Memtar as well. So yes, we've spoken about all the places to make survey available and to have flyers around. So yeah, I think they've thought about that, and certainly some feedback in that regard. So thank you.
Very good. Councillor, any further comments, questions? Meetings to be added that aren't on our business paper or aren't on that program? The committee and delegates meetings? Nothing further? I'll put that all those in favour. Yes, carried. Thank you. Item 3, the report to the General Manager, that's been the works progress report, infrastructure projects. Someone happy to remove the recommendation there, and again highlighting some asterisk items on those infrastructure projects. It's actually getting a little bit shorter, General Manager.
The infrastructure project manager is getting very worried, and the division manager and engineering services, the general manager, are giving me lots of other work.
Good. Someone happy to move the recommendation there, please. Councillor Goose, Councillor McCloskey, Councillor Goose.
Just happy to move it, and any comments from the General Manager?
The first one, Mr. Mayor Grain, the airport's finished. You'll see later on today after lunch how close we are finishing at the Warren Memorial Swimming Pool kiosk and amenities. Same with Carter over the Sports Precinct. On page 24, there's a prize for the typo, if you can find it. But the Jockey Club have pretty well given the go to go and spend their $144,000 on exclusion fencing, which the president and the town services manager were actually talking in a meeting today. Probably we're out there straight after.
Sorry,
Is there what? So in light of that, the 2040?
144.
Where will that take us to and from now then?
It'll do about half the next half.
So you'll come from where it terminates at the back of the race course now?
I apologise, I cannot tell you exactly. It's been done in priority section.
Yeah,
priority section.
It's been done from the corner of the old Warren Road, along the industrial access road, and darting across the back of where the scraper pits are.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that logically you pick up the end point of that and then just keep going down parallel with the Corinda Road somewhat.
From all the documentation is confirmed exactly. The 600 mil flap underneath is happening on the existing sections. They're working on probably a 1 barb, 1.8, and it'd be a 2.4 metre, 0.6 metre skirt everywhere. I like airports 0.3 skirt. I like the idea of 0.6 to monitor and make sure nothing can be underneath. And then he'll be making moves to get a tender out for the rest of it. That's funded by us.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Which direction is it going, where Councillor McCloskey's just asking which direction it's going.
It's just a fund, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much, okay, yeah.
It sounds as though it's
It's the way that,
the way you were speaking.
yeah, pick up the point along the back of the course and head west or north, Rinda Road like this. Yeah.
That was my understanding from previous conversations, but again, I'm not 100% certain on that.
It is getting smaller, isn't it? It's just the last 5% of the project to finish is pretty hard to tidy everything up.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions regarding item 3, the report of the general manager pertaining to infrastructure projects? Nothing further, put that, all those in favour? Yes, carried. Item 4, establish the Shire and move forward. Again, someone has moved recommendations, the information will be received and noted, and you can adopt the 2021 report. Councillor McCloskey's had to move. Yep, the second, please. Councillor Kinsey, Councillor McCloskey.
Pretty good. I'll just recommend the report be adopted and ask the general manager if you'd like to give us an update on any areas that one we didn't hit the mark or concerns or whatever with regard to it.
Absolutely, thank you.
So red is mostly bad, but not really. I mean, what happens is that, for example, page 39, it's red because we're all not happy with the police numbers, etc. And I've been much more critical than the report to the delivery program in June. And so some yellow went back to red. Some things didn't quite make it to as high as what we would have liked. Everything is resource orientated. There's lots of red around. All of us being worried about grant funding. 23-24 was a grant drought, particularly for infrastructure and road infrastructure. I would suggest 11 out of 13 councils in the Alliance of Western Councils had the same as us, nil, for all those typical grants that we got for 23-24. What I note that they found money for over $1 billion with the roads to the Western Sydney Airport. So it's not as if there's no money out there. Telecommunications on page 66. When we ever go to yellow, it'd be fantastic. And we'll see, we've done an 89-page submission on the regional telecommunications review 2024, and we'll see if it gets anywhere. The renewable energy zone, we're not in it. We do say, at the moment, as a council and a community, we wish we were in it, because we would hope to see the 132 kV power line out to Ningland and Tacoma through us changed to 330 kV. And that would then allow us to actually have some more solar facilities. And you'll see on page 69 the start of the red about infrastructure, certainly 23-24. Now, Mr. Mayor, this same report gets reported to the new council, on the 10th of October, because the new council needs to see what the old council did. And look, a little bit of red on 87, because same thing, concern about grants, community grants, not just grants to us. You see my theme of red, lots of grants, and that's about it. We are very orientated now, and our projects are mostly grant funded. But we do have infrastructure funds that we slowly eat at to tidy things up. However, used as a last resort to finalise things, to get that little bit extra that grants weren't able to fund. There is the other major resource is staff, and we can only do so much. And there's a chance sometimes a few things will remain yellow and not green because of that.
Okay. Councillor White, you had a question?
Just a question on the analysis or objectivity, subjectivity, the philosophy of the line between green and yellow. Can you expand on that for me?
So green's on target, yellow is progressing, and red is not commenced, or I'm also been saying I'm really worried about it. So some green in June actually went back to yellow because it was still progressing. So we're a bit harder on ourselves of the final report, because really this was year 3 of a four-year delivery program, but this council only ever had 3 years to have, because we got one less year.
So, sorry, Mr. Through you, do we envisage the next council revisiting this? With the same sort of philosophy as we did at the start of this term?
So in January, February, we will start the ball rolling for community consultation, a high chance of a 1-day or 2-day weekend summit to get the delivery program tidied up and added to, and that'll be again subject to available people and funds. At least our management executive and all the councillors in the summit. Community consultation, 1 or 2 community workshops, and that will inform our new delivery program and a new annual operating plan. But unless it won't touch the Warren Shire Communities Strategic Plan 2035. You notice the end of term report, we made sure that the Mayor kept in his minute for the end of term report, but stated, and in the legislation, I think it's stated the city report. We call it State of the Shire report.
Councillors, any further comments, questions, particularly regarding the grading of where we see particular pieces of information, infrastructure, nothing further. With that, all those in favour? Against, carried. Item 5, Mr. General Manager, delegation of authority for the Mayor and Deputy Mayor during the local election period 2024. Someone, Councillor Taylor, second Councillor Jackson. Councillor Taylor.
I support and have someone there with authority, with the current Mayor and Deputy Mayor happy to do so in that period. Good thing.
Happy to do that. Indeed. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to add that, as it states in that report, there's never been an issue with malpractice for an outgoing mayor continuing to, and deputy mayor, as some other councils do, unfortunately, have that as a higher risk. This council does not, so I endorse what Councillor Taylor said.
Councillor Derek.
Keep an eye on each other.
Mrs. Derek.
Mrs. Derek, you know, we had time, you'll change times. Any further comments, questions regarding the delegation of authority to the mayor and the deputy mayor during that period? Nothing further, put that, all those in favour? It's carried. Item 6, sorry, of the general matter is pertaining to the proposed interest councillors and designated persons. Again, I'm happy to move that. Councillor McCloskey, second to move. Second to Councillor Kinsey. Councillor McCloskey.
Just further recommendations, Mr. Moore.
So those have been tabled. Over there. If you're consistent with your general manager or over there, so it's been tabled. Councillors, any questions, comments regarding the disclosure of interest of councillors and designated persons? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the reports of the Division Manager Finance Administration, first of those being the reconciliation certificate. Someone having again there to move the recommendation, the statements of bank balances and investment balances as of the 31st July we received. Councillor Jackson's happy to move. Second, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just move that they be received and noted, and if any of the council executive staff have anything to make in regards to these answers, that should be so.
I think the difference between this reconciliation certificate and the one previously was the degree of investment that are there. Well, the degree of income that we've had in the intervening time, Manager Finance Administration, and the fact that you're able to move them into investments will benefit in the shortfall space that you might just want to have a comment on.
Mr. Mayor, we received 85% of the FAD monies, 24-25, plus other funds, grant funds and so forth that were sitting there and not being expended, so it has allowed us to increase the level of investments, and it's been a bit more aggressive than what it may have been in the past in terms of cash flow management. So I think off the top of my head as of today, there might be somewhere around 2 million available liquid cash outside of what's listed here by way of investments. So it's running pretty lean in that space. Just trying to maximise council's opportunity for income from investments moving forward and meet our cash flow needs accordingly. The figures in there, as the report suggests, particularly the banking investment accounts breakdown with regard to externally restricted and internally restricted funds. They're basically an estimate until such time as we wrap up, get final figures through the end of the financial year process, reconciliation of our grants, contributions, and expenditure on certain projects that feed into our internal restrictions. So I don't expect a huge degree of change there, but there will be some minimal change, so hence they are estimates. That's about all I can offer.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 1, reconciliation certificate from Division Manager Finance Administration? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2, Division Manager Finance Administration report, statement of payment and the charges. Someone have to move the recommendation there. Councillor Jackson is happy to move. Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Second. Councillor Jackson.
Well, thank you, Chair. I just move that the statement and the information contained therein be received and noted.
It's very early on in the year in terms of income collected, which will change shortly. Councillor, any further comments, questions regarding the statement of votes and any pages? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 3, works progress report in the finance administration area. Again, information we received, notice of recommendation, someone have been moved that way. Thank you, Councillor Bruce, have been moved. Second, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Bruce.
Just move the recommendation, thank you.
We're going to start spending lots of 861,000 very soon.
Perhaps any further comments, questions? Item 3, pertaining to infrastructure in the finance administration area. Further to that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 4. Again, Warren Shire Librarians Operational Report. Again, the information received in notice of recommendation. Someone happy to move there. Councillor Jackson, happy, thank you. Second, Councillor Derek, Councillor Jackson.
This is moving that we've received a note inviting and comment from anybody who will.
I don't classify myself as the chief librarian, but I do enjoy our library. I think it's part of our 5 R's: roads, rates, rubbish, reading and river. And
you're wondering, councillors over there, how he was going to get away with your R's, weren't you?
It's sad to see Pam go. I think Eric, the new lady, has started well. It will even be more in the social media. This report was should have gone probably to the July meeting, and we just delayed it until the new lady could actually get it feet underneath the desk and work out what she was doing. Nice picture there of librarian Pam Kay, and I think it caters for the young and the old, and there's lots of good things in between as well. So I like our library. And look, it's looking pretty good, but of course they're never ever happy. I think there's another $350,000 grant that they want. They have to get 350,000 out of 350,000, but I think there's even more work that they'd like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Just follow up on shame that Pamela left, but certainly very happy for her. She's been great so far in the transition period, and we support her in the community really. And the staff down there generally, they've had a few things going on with the spider system upgrade that caused a few hiccups. Eric has been really active already in a short time, getting out and travelling to our Northwest libraries, doing the whole meet and greet, and getting himself out there in the community as well, which was good to see. So, yeah, she's very experienced, certainly capable and confident, so looking forward to seeing the library continue as it was.
Are we going okay, councillors? There's someone popping up on the mic over now. Very good. Thank you for that. Any further comments, questions on item 4, the Divisional Finance Administration's report regarding the library? Nothing further, put that, all those in favour? Yes, carried. Item 5 is the summary of the financial assistance grants and information received and noted regarding the 24-25 financial assistance grants. Someone happy to move that information? Thank you, Councillor Kinsey. Second, Councillor McCloskey. Councillor Kinsey.
Bit of a loss there in the road component. Is there any big issues that there is?
The overall is $18,000 more. Overall, yeah. Fortunately, our budget system will kind of cater for that. It's just that one budget goes down, one budget goes up, and pretty well the bottom line. And I think the Division Management Financial Administration Services and I have already spent going into
Unfortunately, Councillor Kinsey, they're like that, but the upside is that we've seen it go up as opposed to decreasing that we have seen in our time in Councillor Kinsey, where it goes backwards, so we're concerned about roads component, particularly over time. So, yeah, relatively positive.
Through this to me, if I may, just to highlight yet again, the offerings from ALG are only an estimate this time, still. So we did see a bit of change last year after the fact, and they say they've paid X amount in advance and they estimated it would be this in total for the year. It did change a bit over the course of the year once they firmed up their figures, and so there may still be a little bit of movement in the right direction, hopefully.
No, appreciate it, Manager of Finance Administration. We can only tolerate it going one way. That's right, so,
I can't tell you that's silly, I'm not going to give us an estimate and then say, oh, we're taking away from you.
don't count on it. It might freeze, the cap increases here and there. I don't know the reason, but also, no, the increase of 18.8 is a reasonable result if that comes to fruition. Any further comments, questions regarding the financial assistance program? Any further, we'll put that all in favour. Against carried. Move to the item 6, Division of Finance Administration report. Contains a financial report for the year ended 30th of June 2024. Recommendation comes in 3 parts to authorise the General Manager to finalise the date that it's the auditor's report and financial statements to be vetted to the public. Someone happy to move the recommendation? Councillor Jackson, happy to hear from you. Second, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just move the recommendation as stated. With 3 components.
Most normal meetings get ahead of time, we have to, because there's no other council meetings, and by if we, the next council meeting is pretty well the 24th of October, apart from the extraordinary of the new council, and is the deadline 31st of October?
Submission for the annual financial statements, yes.
Yep.
So the, through Mr. Mayor, the auditors at this stage locked in for being on site for an audit on the 23rd of September. So we're hopeful to have a draft annual financial statement submission to them between the 9th and 16th of September, I think we agree. So prize out meeting and whatnot should be done well before the end of October. Just one thing to highlight, after this gets signed off, we have to do it, given the timing and whatnot. Prior to audit taking place, the auditors, depending on if there's any change in draft sort of statements that they might see or otherwise, there may be an occasion where they request council to have it re-signed before submission, but we'll see how we go. Possibility, but
Thank you for that. Any further comments, questions regarding the financial report for the year of the 30th of June? Nothing further. With that, all those in favour? Yes, carried. Item 7. Division of Finance Administration report pertaining to return the restricted funds at the 30th of June 2024. Someone happy to read the recommendation? Councillor Jackson, taking the move. Second. Councillor Bruce. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that recommendation as stated.
Thank you. Just possible.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a couple of questions. On page 19, where it's got plant replacement, light plant 176336, funds carried forward for council's heavy plant program, replacement program. And then the line after it relates to heavy plant.
okay. Good pick up.
Yep. Also,
We maybe there'll be a prize for that, Mr.
noted. Also, back on the other page, heavy street patching. In the 2018-19 operational plan, it was adopted for Cobb Lane. We've still got the money carried forward for that. When's that likely to happen? Is it programmed in this year's works?
We're hoping to get a $14 million grant to do everything, and we probably find somewhere else to spend that money.
So playing the devil's advocate, and that doesn't happen, we're just going to continue to roll.
It's one of the, it will be watched. It's one of the things that something may happen if we voluntarily find ourselves no hope whatsoever. It certainly is needed. Part of that very large grant is actually to fix up the sewage underneath it. That's half the problem.
Yeah, no, just
the owner of the IGA is continually calling the engineer and I about holes that he's finding when he's unloading his trucks, and that needs to be fixed up. And that was part of it.
Yeah, no, that was the other one about the light plant, eddy plant. Yeah.
And just as a check, the light plant, heavy plant, those figures are estimates. They are true estimates. The majority of the other stuff are not, but those two are voluntary estimates.
A question to the user management fund administration. Just on the top of page 19, regarding infrastructure improvement replacement fund there. The dollar amount 733,244. Does that take into account already the funds that we've allocated to the Victoria Oval women's change rooms and the swimming pool room?
As of the 30th of June. Okay, right, we allocated that from it.
Yes, post it, yeah, okay. So effectively, if we were to look at today's date, we would be minus 280, which is what we talked about at the July meeting. Yeah, okay. Thank you, that's, just needed to be clear about where we sit.
So it's 30th of June 2024, we've taken 81 and just under 200 carried from. And the majority of those, the balances of 30 are in the 24-25 estimates.
Yeah.
The election expenses, for example, already put into the 24-25. The 75,825 for the risk of work health and safety management is in the budget this year. The street lighting, the 11,662, is in the budget for 24-25. 51,000, I think it's all in your budget for 24. I won't be having. There's the dwelling, Pacific M&R is in the I think. Lawn cemetery, whatever's left is in this year. But someone like the 85,000, the overflow bridge repairs, and the 192 just kept being moving on. I think 25,000 out of 31,620 in airport sales is allocated in this year's budget. The 60,000 for animal shelters, this year's budget. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that, Councillor, that gives us a fair idea of where we are in terms of those internally restricted funds. Was there a total at the end of that?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor.
Most of them, of course, is the first one at the top.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor, do you have a question? Or? Yep.
So I forgot where we were. Are we on item 1?
On 7.
Item 7.
In terms of additional funds, as actually division, as at 30th of June 2024, that one, internally restricted.
So, Mr. Mayor, just getting this through my accountant's head, which is not good. Yeah, our bag grants are down to 400. The total is about, if you just count that, $1 million down in the restricted. plus what you talked about a minute ago for the change room. We need, the new council needs to think about where, in the next budget process, where we need to build our restricted funds or our funds in reserve up. Is that fair comment?
Yes, and that's why the 695,000 from the levy operation things will be extremely helpful. But just to clarify, instead of getting 100% of the fags paid, we only got 80. They decided to give us 85%. So that's where the 400,000, 500,000 is.
All right, that's just great.
They gave us 100%, meaning that 3,826,431.
Yeah.
Was 100%. This year they only paid us
3,548.
85% of it. So that's 300,000 or 400,000 straight away. Of course, we're spending infrastructure improvement advice, is what you're really saying, but risk and administration and all sorts of things will be taken into account as well as hopefully the treasurer being nice to us.
Couple of questions, please. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess for anyone who wants to answer it, but we say in the section where we're talking about election expenses, it's $19,865. These funds have been set aside each year, but when I look at the election expenses in the table, in item 7, that's where we started last year. So we haven't put any money in the last financial year into that fund. Is that what that's telling me? It's nothing in, nothing out?
We made sure that this year's budget used $19,865 that was in reserve, plus what we thought was needed to make it up to the budget was 35 or 33,000.
Right, so do we need to put more into that fund then? Obviously, we didn't put any money into it this last year.
Next year's budget will have an appropriate amount for reserves to keep going and adding up until we do the same thing.
Gotcha. But we didn't put any money into it this year. When we said we did, is all I'm asking. It's set aside each year, and we didn't set anything aside this last financial year.
We're yet to finalise carryovers.
Yeah, so they are still an estimate, but you're right, as it reads there has been no one.
And arguably, it's only been 3 years in this term, so we're extra short. So we may have only contributed for 2 years and forgot the last year, and now we find ourselves, $18,000 and $20,000 short.
I'll say it again. That 19,865 is gone and is already in 24-25, plus an allocation to pay for the actual election, which is probably of 33 or 35. So there's a budget in the year. Some of the income came from that 19,865. Everything's right. We're covering the budget. Next year, we have to start building our reserves up again. We have to work out whether we do probably 12,000 a year.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. We're not putting enough away. So we've got to take it out of another reserve to top it up, where we should be allocating it all along the way. We know it's going to cost about 40 grand.
Certainly 33, we think, at least.
The long, short and tall that try and explain it best and easiest is that we knew what the election was going to cost. So internal reserves, as they always say, are a paper figure. You don't actually have to squirrel away money in that sense and list it year on year to make sure those funds are available as per the budget. So in that sense, given we knew the election was happening in this current year, rather than put money into the reserve and let you show it, we've allowed for whatever was there and we budgeted for what we needed in addition in this current year.
Okay.
So for future years, so we're not going to be short, we're not going to have to take it from any other reserve or anywhere. It's budgeted for in the current budget, allowed for, with the reserve money. improvement to make up this 35 whatever it is. So future years, you're absolutely right. If council has the decision made that we put away whether it's 12, 15, whatever is required as an estimate of the cost of the future election, then that's what we'll see moving forward. But which kind of locks that cash away, identifies it, commitments made. Yep. Thank you.
Council, any further questions, information sought regarding the internal restricted funds as at the previous meeting? Nothing further, put that all those in favour? Yes, carried. Moving on to the reports of the Division Manager of Engineering Services, first of those pertaining to the roads. The recommendation is, of course, the information received in note. Someone happy to move that way in the road space? Councillor Whiteley and Councillor Whiteley.
Mr Mayor's comprehensive report, and I'd move it to council and ask Sylvester, Director, whether he'd like to comment on any parts of it or any other questions.
Mr. Mayor, we are trying big reason to number one, do our major projects. So we are Nevertime Hogan Road and also doing some work on Highland Road, heavy patching and big section with right road. And also trying to do some maintenance grading. So crews trying Panama Road and Panama at the moment.
Maintenance great as is given the weather conditions. Councillor Brooks.
For the Manager of Engineering Services, what time frame do these tables show from? How far back are we reaching with these? When we're talking about a road that's completed, how long ago were the works completed? I mean, what's the reach back of the table, I guess?
One in particular, Councillor Brooks, that you want to...
Tabitong Lane, for example. I drove on that yesterday. It's awful, and it's, yeah, anyway, I'm not sure a lot of roads are awful, but it was graded maybe March or something like that. So I'm just questioning the value of reporting that in August. You know, it doesn't really inform us a whole lot, other than the fact that something was done 6 or 8 months ago.
Mr Mayor, it should be the last month. So there might have been some maintenance grading on tablet on the month.
Highly doubt it.
Says in here it was a spot grade.
I mean, we've had some pretty awful weather since, mind you, but I certainly was on it a month ago and it was pretty ordinary and wet. I'll just try to get in my mind how far these reach back so that we can understand, you know, what's going on. And I don't think that was graded in the last month. Pretty sure it hasn't been, but I'm happy to be corrected.
We'll take that on notice and we'll just, overnight, we'll get some information on that sort of stuff. Councillor Broadbent, the General Manager suggesting there it is only 1 month, so let's find out really what that's about. Thank you. Councillor McCloskey.
Through you, a couple of things, just in light of that. I think sometime back in the past, if you go back to page 1, it's got actually up to the 7th of August, but in previous reports prior to that, it actually indicated the starting date, i.e. the month prior to the 7th of August, so that you would know that between the 7th of July and the 7th of August, these roads have been done. But it hasn't got the start date there for whatever reason on that there. Go over to page 3, and I think the word was just used then, spot graded. Now, we've got 2 roads here, spot graded again, be it Oakley and Pleasant View. Is that a practice we're going to get into, as opposed to doing a full maintenance grade given when we're there?
Mr. Mayor, we only do heavy grading where necessary. So we've actually assessed these roads and implement that spot grading is sufficient for that purpose.
So, in terms of the spot grading, is there a percentage of the road that you did do under the spot grading? Given the road's 18 kilometres long, did you spot grade 10k of it?
Mr. Mayor, I'll take that.
Because to me, spot grading, and I can understand circumstances, You go out and spot grade it, I can't see the relevance of doing that if you're not doing the full, because the bit you spot grade today, in 6 months' time, the bit you didn't spot grade, potentially you might grade, and you go and spot grade and the other spots, as opposed to doing a maintenance grade on the road when you're there. So, yeah.
We'll get to some further information, Councillor Kosky, and some further information for Councillor Brewer. You have another question, Councillor?
Another question, one for me. I noticed too on page 3, we only had 3 grader crews operating during that period. We're down to 2 grader crews. Over on page 5, we've actually got grader crews listed for doing future maintenance work, so we're going to be back up to 4 grader crews at that time.
Yes. So what did you do? Did you actually split your crew up, and or some people were on holidays?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one could operate is on holiday. So we tried operating with 3 operators. So by the time this report was done, we had 4 operators. So this was the expected plan.
Thanks. Page 4.
So, okay, August, September, okay, was that, so that's nearly retrospective, is that what you're saying? Because you wouldn't be ready to, or you're saying this is prospective, looking forward?
Looking forward, yeah.
Looking forward, okay.
Potentially the 4th grader crew will be out in operation. Yeah.
The 5th crew will be, yeah, dreaming. Anyway. Councillor Whiteley, and then Councillor Kinsey.
Yeah, I express my feelings to Sylvester and his crew. Personally, the weather conditions over the last month have been absolutely horrific as far as road maintenance, and you know, the guys on the ground are just as frustrated as those who've got to use the roads, and prioritising where we should use our assets and at what time, and in such a big area where the conditions are such that they can be utilised and those that they can't be, is a serious challenge, but it needs to be addressed.
Taking with notes, Councillor Kinsey.
Yeah, on that Tabletop Lane, Mr. Mayor, but spot grading to me just, I don't understand why you go to the trouble of getting the machinery there. And for the length of the Tabletop Lane, it's not exactly from here to Brisbane. So why aren't we just doing it properly and we can come back again in another 6 months? Instead of what Councillor Kosky said, we'll probably be there in another 3 months because you haven't done all of it.
I'll again refer to the Division Manager of Engineering Services and try and understand where we are in terms of what we can do and staffing and all that. Over to you, Sylvester.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, we are severely understaffed, and we have the problem with the bad weather. And to compound that, we have a very large volume of work. So we need to prioritize our work. Tabletop road was only created because we couldn't work on never type order, crews on never type order. So because we couldn't do the work that took us there, we went and created the roads, Tabletop Lane and Pada and the rest. So in terms of properly planning the work to properly create these roads, the plan. We're also waiting for the flood damage funding to be approved. There's about $4 million worth of work that's yet to be approved. So we are waiting for this to be approved, and then we can then prioritize the seal road committee. So the council has to be patient with us, and the committee as well.
Councillor Klosky and then Councillor White.
Just to harp in on the road situation, to me, we were shown a photo earlier of a road that had been damaged just recently by a vehicle for whatever circumstance. The general manager indicated when he showed us the photo that we weren't going to go back and do anything. What about the safety issue of the road, given the condition of it now, if we don't go and do something with it?
We're not going back, Mr Mayor, because the road is so wet, the last 2 kilometres. We might do some spot grading, Mr Mayor. You never know. So, Mr Mayor, I'm suggesting, the reason why I'm being a little bit facetious is starting to be very operational, and the engineering staff, I think the definition of spot grading, it's not quite, let's just go a little bit here and there. There is reasonable serious grading happening, but not heavy maintenance grading. Right? However, every road is in the same boat. We can't go back to that because it is so wet and damaged.
I understand that, but you made a statement, Mr Mayor, that you weren't going to do anything.
That's correct.
Yes, so given it's
engineering department's made that
it's a safety issue and an access issue given the condition of the road, I question that the answer, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Can I politely suggest that the next roads committee have a, if these conditions are ongoing, have a serious discussion about how, in consultation with the Division of Engineering Services, how roads might be dealt with, given where we've been for the last 6 months and where we might need to be going. How are we just going to address that? Shortages, wet weather. Yeah, we just did a big no win, I think, Councillor Impossible. Unfortunately, I don't know how you overcome this in a sensible way. I understand the Division Manager being himself trying to do the best he can with the staff he has. We take him away from Nevertire voting to do something in Tableton, but then if it dries out enough, what's their highest priority? Is it coming back to Nevertire voting? You know, how do we they staff juggle these things is I think it's, you know, it's not the place here at the minute to try and sort this out. I think roads committee sooner rather than later might need to have a good discussion about how it might all work. Councillor.
Exactly, Mr Mayor, and that's it. Some of this is semantics and the word spot, but a grader could not work at one site, so it went to another site for a day, and that's just operational sensibility as far as I know.
And I'm sorry, do we have a second for that? I've got roads, I've got very politely interpreted Frosty, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Drew.
Just a comment through there. Thank you to the roads, the engineering department for taking on board, getting that stop-go sign happening out of that Nevertire Bogan Road, because it was getting quite dangerous and it really got down to a single lane when it was wet. People were having big issues, so thank you for getting that happening pretty quickly. Thanks.
Councillors, any further comments, questions on the works progress report, Division of Engineering Services? Nothing further, put that all those in favour, against carried. Moving on to item 2, works progress report pertaining to town services, moving to seconder. Councillor Koski, thank you. Second. Councillor Bruce, second. Councillor Koski.
No, just move the report. Mr Mayor, I just have a question.
Please. Yes, Councillor Koski.
Through this, Mayor, just reading the report, on page 25, we've listed a rotational 2-weekly schedule with regards to mowing and whippersnipping various parks and reserves. Then if you go over to page 26, it says the following locations are whippersnip mode on basically a when and needs basis. Some of the ones that are listed in the 2-weekly schedule are actually listed in the when and needs basis. And some are actually listed twice in the when and needs basis.
Mr Mayor, we'll fix that. We'll sort this out. Thank you. Division of Engineering Services just make some sense of.
Just three in terms of, yeah, because doubled up, if you know what I mean.
Right, no point telling someone to be married, mowing every 2 weeks when it's only on an as-needs basis.
Yes.
Not correct. Yep. No, we'll bring it to the Absolutely. Thank you for that. Council, any further questions? Information sought regarding the town services report? Any further, put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 3, Division Manager Engineer Service Report pertaining to plant. Someone to information received tonight. Councillor Jackson, happy to move. Second, Councillor McCloskey. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just move the recommendation, information be received and noted.
Just a question, I haven't got it right, yes I do, right in front of me. Just to refresh my memory, we had a question mark about grader at the last meeting. Is that the pre-plan 28, is the John Deere grader, and that's what's turned out to be the issue in terms of broken bush rod and rocker, and then you've got a problem, failed cam. Is that, just bring us up to speed with where that is, because that's a big plan item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the crews are currently working at grader. Previously, they found one push rod was broken, another was bent. So they've removed the header and in the process of removing the engines so that they can send it to an expert to fix it.
So it's really, that let the engine's out of the machine then?
Yeah.
Yep. Sure. How many hours are on that machine? How many hours?
How many hours is that actually done? Do you know offhand?
From memory is 9,600 hours.
9,600? Yep. It's up there. Councillor McCloskey.
Yeah, just a couple of questions.
Sorry.
We've had a windscreen replacement, was that done under insurance and it had to go there as opposed to being able to be done in warrant?
It's covered.
So,
Councillor Bruce and Councillor Jackson. Councillor White. Councillor Bruce.
The excavator, that's the one that's out from the UMR, isn't it? So what's happening with it? Is it still out of action?
Mr. Mayor, take that. The excavator is also being fixed at the moment. We have experts from Quebec.
So, do you know what's the issue with that one? Do you know?
Looking for, most probably going to have a go at refurbishing the hydraulic plant.
Yeah.
Not replacing it, refurbishing it.
It's just a small thing. I was going to say steel is built off of stone metal in all of the steel chainsaw. As in steel chainsaw bow and everything, it's spelled STI, HLI, STA. It's just a small thing, but repeated right through.
Yep. No worries. Councillor Costa, you have
just one more I noticed. We have a chainsaw that grew legs.
Yes. Really noted, is it?
Got up and walked, did it?
Which one is that?
Top of page 31. Chainsaw went missing, so I assumed it grew legs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And our blowers all run out of puff at the same time.
So tell us where it is. Which table? Second table?
Top of page 31, the first line. Replaced with a missing, you replace missing unit. And like I say, all their blowers run out of puff at the same time on the previous page.
Council, any further questions, comments regarding the work progress report and the plan? No further put that, all those in favour? Yes, carried. We have reports to the Bank of Health and Development Services, DA approvals, a couple there. So I'm happy to move the information received and noted there. Councillor Kosky, second Councillor Kinsey. Councillor Kosky.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'll just move the report as presented.
Any comments, questions regarding those? Nothing further, put that, all those in favour? Thanks, carried. Moving on to item 2, the Land Health and Development's report pertaining to works progress. So again, happy to move the information received and noted. Councillor Bruce, happy to move. Seconded Councillor Jackson. Councillor Bruce.
Just moving a recommendation and just a comment that it looks like there was a bit of activity happening out at the animal shelter as we came out of our race course today. Fencing, I'll pass that over to
Might refer to the Manager of Health and Development just for an update on the animal shelter.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. Works has commenced on the new animal shelter out there. Brett Ruff has been awarded as the suitable contractor for the concreting works.
Any further questions, comments on item 2 of the development report? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Carried. Councillors, to item 10, we have no notices on motion. No questions with notice, as far as I'm aware.
No, I'm not so connected.
Can I have an indulgence, Mr. Mayor?
Have a vacancy.
Matters of urgency. Item 11 on our agenda. Present no matters of urgency, but someone, sorry, I'm lost a little bit. Councillor, please, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, with your indulgence and Council's indulgence, you thanked everybody involved in your term and your life as a councillor and mayor earlier that you didn't mention yourself, and I'm personally aware, and I'm sure everybody in this room, is the time and effort that you put into this role and your expertise in people management especially, and getting the best out of all of us. There is, including myself, very different personalities involved in this organisation and government and wholes as well, and I personally, and I'm sure this organisation, congratulate you in the way you've done it. We are desperately sorry that you seem to leave us, and that I just would like personally, and I hope the rest of the council is backing me up in giving our appreciation, and yet you have done above and beyond duty. Thank you very much.
Councillor White and I do feel that this was a matter of urgency. It is the last opportunity that we have to thank you as you sit in that chair. I think that we should all be quite proud of what we've achieved together, but I think you should personally be very proud of what you've achieved in your long career in local government. I don't think anywhere in the world we could find a more passionate advocate for the community, so thank you. You've led us with a steady hand, and on that note, I don't think I've, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen you touch that gavel. So I won't make you do that. I won't make you do that now. I will leave it at that, but thank you from all of us. Thank you.
So just to follow up one statement to lighten that off a little. The verbal report for the Dubbo City Regional Council went for 1 hour and 18 minutes. I think our mayor did a great job in 18 or 20.
Mayor, I've made sure I commented the council as a matter of urgency. The council president thanked the mayor, Councillor Milton Creddy, for the work that he's done as a council for the past 20 years and 6 years as mayor, leading us with a steady hand without touching.
You happy with that? I'm happy with all of that. I can go now. Thank you, Sylvester. Thank you, councillors, for those kind words, Councillor Whiteley and Councillor Derrick. It's been a joy to be part of this organisation. And I wish all of you, well, the councillors elect, I wish you well with your next council. The councillors contesting re-election, I wish you well. Let's move on. Thanking you. Confidential matters. We need a resolution to move into committee of the whole closed council and another resolution to exclude members of the press and the public. Someone would like to move those two. Councillor Taylor moving and Councillor Bill second. That being the case, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Sorry, Joe, did you get it? Councillor Taylor and Councillor Brewer. Thank you. Councillor Taylor and Councillor Brewer move back to the open council. Wondered if the councillors who move the recommendation. Councillor Brewer, second by Councillor Jackson. Happy to move in open council recommendation. Thank you. Councillor Jackson. Yes. Any further comments, questions regarding the recommendation? You have to
so it was moved Councillor Brill and Jackson. One, council note finalised performance review, performance agreement to Warren Shire General Manager 23-24 midterm and annual review, and that the General Manager's performance is currently exceeding expectations. And two, the General Manager's contract and employment package will increase as of 1st of October 2022 by 3%.
Thank you. Councillor, any further comments or questions before we put that? Councillor Jackson.
Quickly, is it too late to add a word to that number 1? And that is exceeding expectations overall, instead of just exceeding expectations? It might sound like...
Oh no, it's as per what's really picking up what's recommended from the committee of the whole closed council.
Yeah, it's,
okay, thank you.
You could put inverted commas around that because it's only just because that's what they call it in that
in the document. It's the different levels, like what average of 4.0 is.
Councillor Jackson, thanks for that, but I think it's just more prudent just to leave it as it was in the committee of the council. So, any further comments, questions before we put that? Nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Please carried. That concludes this last meeting of the term of Warren Shire Council 2021-2024. I look forward to your company as we go and have a look at some of the projects this afternoon, and then this evening with your partners, please.
Very good.
So, Mr. Mayor,